Hi, this is John Delancey, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Today on MWIRE Weekly, we'll be discussing, well, about a million movie-related things that have happened since the last time you heard from us. So, all that and more coming up on MWIRE Weekly. Thanks for sticking with us as we do every week here on MWIRE Weekly. We will start off with a look at the box office. We've actually been off for a couple weeks, so I'm going to do a real quick look at the last couple weekends to see what has happened. The first week we were off, we had The Fault in Our Stars, which actually took the first spot. It was a brand new film that week, and also new that week was Edge of Tomorrow, which came in third. Fault in Our Stars had about 48 million, and Edge of Tomorrow had about 28 million. So that was a couple weekends ago, and then 2 weekends ago we had 22 Jump Street open. With 57 million in the first spot, just beating out How to Train Your Dragon 2, which came in second at 49. So those were the two new ones that weekend, which catches us up to this past weekend, where we had another new number one. So we've had a lot of number ones recently. And this past weekend it was Think Like a Man 2, which came in at just over 29 million, so not nearly as good of opening that it took the last couple weekends before that to get that number one spot. Those other ones were up by the 40 or 50 million. So Think Like a Man 2 with 29 million. 22 Jump Street came in second with 27.5. How to Train Your Dragon 2 with just under 25. Jersey Boys, which was one of the new ones too, came in fourth with a 13 million opening. And Maleficent was still hanging tight, had dropped down to the number 5th spot with just under 13 million. So the two new ones came in at number 1 and number 4. Other than that, not a lot of big drastic things. The comic book movies have all fallen quite a ways now. X-Men came in 8th. Spider-Man's down to 14th. Captain America's down to 25th. So those are all kind of falling to the wayside now that they've all been out for a good number of weeks. Anybody surprised that Think Like a Man 2, that does have Kevin Hart in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Whoa.
that would explain it. Because when Kevin Hart's in a movie, it gets number 1. So it actually already made its budget in the first weekend, so that's a positive for that. 22 Jump Street's already doubled its budget. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is not quite there, but it will be. There's nothing to fear there. And Maleficent this week just passed its budget in its 4th week. So a lot more success in the last few weeks / month compared to the early on portions of 2014. Anything that stands out for the box office for you, Nate?
No, I'm a little upset. How to Train Your Dragon 2 never got the number 1 spot in any week.
Yeah, went up against some comedies which apparently are doing decent this year. A lot of time comedies don't necessarily do as well like in an actual like specific weekend, but they have some staying power because they don't have a lot of competition, so usually they'd end up doing decent over the course of the year. But yeah, How to Train Your Dragon 2 not having that pop that maybe it was expecting, but it's like we know is going to have a long shelf life, so it'll do fine at the box office overall once you add it all up and everything's said and done.
That's cool.
What about you, Matt? Anything standing out to you?
No, just these comedies aren't bringing in the monies that the action movies did. I thought we were supposed to get action movies. It's summer. Let's get on that.
Yeah, let's get back to it. It's going to be real soon. As for the yearly, since it's been obviously a while since we've checked in, we'll see what's moved and shaken and moving. It is super close here. We are almost with a new number 1. Overall, with the year's top spot is the Lego Movie with 256,696,000. And Captain America is in second with 256,690,000. So there's literally a $6,000 difference separating the top 2 spots right now.
You predicted that Captain America was going to take Lego Movie over 3 weeks ago.
It is not doing it quite yet.
It is not.
Needs another $6,000. X-Men Days of Future Past has come up to the number 3 spot with almost 217 million. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just about to get to the 200 million mark. That is number 4th, and Godzilla is 5th with 194, and Maleficent is right behind it. So that's what it's looking like right now. Superheroes are definitely reigning supreme, which is why we have DC and Marvel planning out 17 more years of superhero films.
Yeah.
At least.
And that's why we have a whole crap ton of superhero news items. So getting right into the headlines, we're going to go through some of these fairly quickly because there's not a lot to report, but I just want to make sure we hit it. Some of them will be a little bit older news. Some will be a little more current, so just bear with us. We want to make sure we touch on all of it. First off, with Gambit, Channing Tatum has been hinting at the idea that there's been some discussions, at least, about doing a Gambit standalone film before he appears in 2016's X-Men Apocalypse. Nothing written down yet, no scripts or anything like that, but basically saying that they've talked about being standalone first and then moving into the X-Men Apocalypse film. And kind of like the idea that it's kind of that character that's not purely a hero, kind of has that middle ground where he's not, squeaky clean like some superheroes are. Do you guys think it'd be valuable to have a Gambit movie first before they introduce him into the X-Men universe?
It's an interesting idea. I mean, I like Gambit, so standalone. I don't know. Maybe I just misread all of the articles we were reading. I thought they had already said that. I thought that was what was happening, was they were going to get Gambit standalone movie, and that he might show up eventually. And so,
yeah, I kind of thought that too, but this one was kind of hinting that it was not something that was so much set in stone. A lot of times I think it's a better idea to introduce the people first, as long as they're capable of carrying their own movie. The only times you run into problems is if they're not, because then if the movie flops, then you're kind of left in a pickle on what you do with that character, and if there's even worth putting in the bigger films.
Yeah. But at the same time, doing all these individual movies, you can get tired of origin stories. And that's what the X-Men's great at doing, is not needing one.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a fine line.
Nate, any thoughts on Gambit?
I'd watch it.
I like origin stories. I'm a sucker for that stuff, so I would watch as many origin stories as I could get my hands on. And we'll take a quick break from superheroes just to get into some Star Wars stuff. There's a couple different things that have been coming out over the last couple weeks, and they're starting to name directors for the spin-off films, not episode 7, 8, 9, but for some of the character spin-off films. So far we have Gareth Edwards, who did Godzilla, tabbed for one of the spin-off films, and Josh Trank, who was director from Chronicle, tapped to do another one. I don't have a lot of faith in Gareth Edwards based on his Godzilla work, but I've never seen Chronicle, so I can't really judge Josh Trank on anything. It's interesting that they're getting a bunch of people that haven't really done a lot, kind of more fresh, young directors that they're tabbing for some of these films. I don't know if it's a good idea, bad idea. I guess time will tell. Have either of you guys seen Chronicle?
Wait, what? No, I haven't.
You know what it is, though, right?
No.
It's a bunch of teenagers get superpowers, and then one of them happens to have a very shaky camera that he hands.
Oh yeah. It's Blair Witch with superpowers.
It's like the Blair Superman project.
Right.
I have not seen Chronicle. I wanted to see it, but at the same time, I don't know. I hate that shaky hand camera,
right,
and
yeah.
I also, I don't know, it looked too angsty. It was like, I've already seen The Craft. Do I need to see this?
What's The Craft?
That you don't remember The Craft?
Man.
It's like it's the Guy Witch movie. Remember we watched it.
Nate wasn't allowed to watch that stuff back in the day.
Right? The Craft was the one with the guys, not the girls, right?
No, Craft is the girls.
Okay, what's the guy one that was like the same movie?
Oh, I don't remember that one. I just remember Craft because it had Nev Campbell and a couple other people in it, I'm pretty sure. I did not watch it, though, so I don't know.
Well, Nate and I watched the one about the boys that was a lot like The Craft, and then, they're shooting spells at each other in a barn, and then it deflects, and the barn burns down, and they, all die or something. It's dumb.
Oh, good.
Wow.
I'm glad that's how that ended.
Anyway, moving right along from that morbid thought, if you've been keeping track of us in the past few episodes, we've been keeping our tabs on what's been happening with the Ant-Man project, and a lot of directors coming and going. I don't really bring this up as much for the director that's named, more so for the actual synopsis that they're giving for it, because it's kind of our first look at that, so it's kind of interesting. But they have gotten Yes Man's Peyton Reed to be the director. And just reading the synopsis here, it says, armed with the astonishing ability to shrink in scale but increase in strength, con man Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, must embrace his inner hero and help his mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, played by Michael Douglas, protect the secret behind his spectacular Ant-Man suit from a new generation of towering threats. Pym and Lang must plan and pull off a heist that will save the world, co-starring Evangeline Lilly, Patrick Wilson, and Michael Pena. What do you think of that synopsis there, Matt?
I love heist movies and I love superhero movies.
So you're on board?
Yeah, I mean, I want a classic Ant-Man story starting with Hank Pym, but I want it to be super campy, and I want him to fly on the backs of ants and shit like he does in the 60s comics, but I guess we're not going to get that, so I'm going to hold the hope out that it's good this way.
Well, and there was also a potential rumor / who knows if it's how much credibility it has, but who the villain would be in this film. And it says, according to the report, Ant-Man will be going up against Darren Cross, the head of Cross Technological Enterprises, a competitor of both Stark Industries and Oscorp. Are you familiar with that character?
Nope. I also, I can't say that I've read a lot of Ant-Man either, but I've never heard of Reverse Ant-Man, which I think that article suggests.
Is that right? Reverse Flash?
Well, yeah, exactly, like Reverse Flash, where it's, hey, I've got inverted colors, but I have the exact same powers.
Oh, okay.
So, Nate, do you know anything about Darren Cross?
No. I know less than Matt.
All right.
And that's
everything.
Nothing. Oh.
So maybe the listeners can sound off on how they feel about Darren Cross possibly being a villain in this film. I don't know anything about Ant-Man in general, so
I got one suggestion to Marvel about this. Don't make Darren Cross like, what's-his-face Hammerman, because Iron Man 2 sucked because of that Hammer dude.
Hammer dude?
Yeah, dude, Hammerman. Like, John P. Hammerman, the guy who's like, I want to be Iron Man as well. And then, like he just, was just in every scene ruining the movie.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a guy with, hammer powers.
That would have made that movie good, maybe. That's what Iron Man 2 needed, was just more Thor, I guess.
Yeah.
Just more Hammer.
Oh, Hammer. We're trying to break up the superhero news as much as we can, so we'll throw in something that's not superheroes, and then we'll get right back to them. Ghostbusters fans might be happy, but Ghostbusters is going to have a new theater release, actually. It's going back in the theaters starting August 29th. So You'll have another chance to see Ghostbusters on your big screen, and then a DVD Blu-ray is coming out September 16th. So it's getting restored for both the big screen and for a DVD Blu-ray release. I don't know if it's a certain... it is the anniversary. 30 years?
Yeah.
So 30-year anniversary treatment for Ghostbusters. So fans of Ghostbusters celebrate, I guess, as they decide if they're going to do any more Ghostbusters. Would you guys go see that in the theater?
I'm good.
Yep. I'm going to follow Nate's lead on that one. I love them. I love the Ghostbusters.
I'll go see it for $3.
I've got a I got a screen that's pretty big already.
Do you own the Ghostbusters?
What?
Do you own the Ghostbusters?
I think Kevin does.
I don't.
Dang it. I own Ghostbusters 2. It's the only one I
That's
own.
weird.
But I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix, so whatever.
That's weird to own Ghostbusters 2.
Well, that's what happens when you shop at thrift stores all the time.
Yeah.
All right, back to some superhero news, this time DC related. The title for Ben Affleck's solo Batman film apparently is revealed. I don't know why this matters, but apparently it may be called The Batman.
Ooh, I'm down.
Look forward to The Batman 2020.
Cool.
The Batman
now,
20 every year.
That's planned to come out after
Justice League, after Man of Justice, after Justice Hammer. That's why I
Justice
said
Hammer?
I'm just making things up.
Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice League, and then Justice League,
And
then the Batman.
Wait, is it then the Batman, or is it then the Man of Steel 2? And then the Batman?
Well, there could be other stuff too, but as far as his, they said that he signed I believe a 3 or 4 film deal.
That's awesome. Good for him.
So it would be in that order so far: Batman vs Superman, then Justice League, then the Batman. I don't know if he has anything else, if he has to do another one or not.
I can't wait to see him as Batman. I'm so excited.
Have you
saying there's also a chance that he would direct that one as well as star in it.
Yeah, we'll see how all that goes.
So that's a lot. That's a long way down the road. So I would think you'd have to see how all these other films do first. But speaking of things that might not go over so well with the fans, Lex Luthor, sporting a different look in Batman vs Superman. Apparently, Jesse Eisenberg's version of the character will not be bald.
Oh, that's not different.
They did that in Smallville, and then also a lot in the 90s. But
they did that in the original Superman from the 70s.
But he was wearing a wig.
Well, he was bald. He was wearing a
but I mean, that could be what they're doing too.
Well, and they're saying that they described his look, according to this article, as a 20-something guy that pounds energy drinks all day and has long blonde hair.
When I hear someone who pounds energy drinks, I think of like a muscle-bound frat boy, not Jesse Eisenberg.
What?
Yeah.
Lex Luthor pounding energy drinks?
Yeah, dude.
I don't know, man.
There's zero precedence for that.
I'm not saying it'll be terrible, but it probably will be terrible.
I can't see anything good about that.
Man.
First, I mean, it was already weird enough that they were going to cast Jesse Eisenberg, but now I don't know what they're doing with this character. Lex Luthor's classic. If you're going to use one of the most classic villains, I don't know if that's the best guy to go all crazy with and try to change up.
Yeah.
Like I think it'd be even weirder though if they showed him bald. Like,
if he's going to be young, he can't really be bald.
That's not true.
Well, I mean, it would.
I just think he'd look really weird as a bald guy.
Yeah.
It'd be less intimidating, more hilarious.
But I guess what I'm not understanding is Henry Cavill is playing Superman, and Ben Affleck is playing Batman. So you haven't established like that you're going for a younger universe. So doesn't this completely throw off like the history of these characters as far as age relation?
Well, the thing is that I can't say that I've read all the 40s and 50s and 60s Superman comics. I simply haven't. But I think that Superman and Lex Luthor don't have to be the same age. It just needs to be Superman stands for everything America, and Lex Luthor hates, him. I got all these theories on like how Superman is classic America and Lex Luthor's modern America, but like honestly, it's just you need to have a racist ass dude who hates Superman. It doesn't matter what age he is, He's just gotta be like, hey, get out of America.
Yeah.
That's all you need. So, that happens at all ages.
True.
Like, they don't need to go to high school together. I don't need that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying I need that either. I'm just saying it's not like, it'd be one thing if you were going with, I don't know. To me, it's like you're going two different directions because Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill are almost like the old, maybe I'm completely wrong. They seem like more towards the older side of what you'd normally see those characters play. Maybe not.
In Man of Steel, it seemed like he was like 25, 30. So maybe they're playing.
I'm trying to picture Ben Affleck playing like something that's not going to feel like a 40-year-old Batman.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And we're not getting a solo Batman movie. He's just coming into this universe. That's going to be weird.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, oh, hey, ignore all those super famous Batman movies. They didn't happen.
That's not part of this. So that's going on. Doctor Strange also has a new director, apparently, a guy named John Spates, who I am not new writer. I'm not familiar with him, so I don't really have much to say about that, but just thought I'd throw that out there so fans of Doctor Strange can keep up with what's going on there. He is on board to rewrite the script, apparently. The initial work was done by Thomas Dean Donnelly and Joshua Oppenheimer. Mark Ruffalo says that Marvel is working on a solo Hulk movie. or at least considering on it. So I know for a long time there was no thoughts of doing another Hulk standalone. Like they did the one, and they got him in the Avengers, and they figured that was all they needed to do. They could just have him show up in the Avengers and never have to do another standalone film. But apparently now they're thinking about doing that.
He got some good one-liners, and everyone's like, you know what I need? A movie of one-liners.
Yeah, he was like, wasn't he like comedic relief pretty much?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah,
Hulk,
I
go smash, and then like, Beauty God. It just like, it was just all one-liners, man, with the Hulk.
Right.
I mean, it was
funny.
well done.
Yeah, it was great. It was
in
awesome.
the context of the movie, but I don't know if I need a whole movie of that.
That's the only lead up to the Avengers films that I didn't see. So obviously I have no interest in seeing another one since I didn't see the first one.
It's worth seeing, although it barely counts because it's Edward Norton.
Yeah.
But I mean, Edward Norton's great.
Yeah.
That movie had just a bunch of great actors because it was like Edward Norton, Liv Tyler, that guy.
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth.
I'm having a brain glitch for the moment, but who was the Hulk in the other movie that came out like that same year?
Oh, Ang Lee.
The Ang Lee Hulk. Ang Lee was the director, not... Ang Lee was the director.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same year. It was like 4 years apart. It was just...
I know. It just feels like the same year.
It left a terrible taste in everyone's mouth because it was so bad, I hear.
It's probably the same amount of time that the last Fantastic Four is to the new Fantastic Four.
Although those feel like they're decades apart.
Yeah.
All right. A little different news there again. Luke Evans, if you haven't seen his photo as far as the first poster for the movie Dracula Untold, that has been released, so you can check out the website, click on the link, and you can view this poster. It's pretty, I don't know, it looks like a cool little poster to me.
Did you open that up, Nate?
Yeah, it looks awesome.
I was going to say, like, that is badass.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, he's kind of standing on a cliff, and his cloak kind of fades into bats.
Matt and I are, like, super wanting a really good fantasy movie.
We need another good fantasy movie. It's been forever since we've had a solid fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Well, and Luke Evans, who was he? What was he in? The Hobbit, I believe, as one of the characters. Evans is headlining as Vlad. Dominic Cooper, Samantha Barks, and Sarah Gadon are all in this. It opens October of this year in the UK. So I'm not sure exactly what the release date's going to be for the U.S., but I don't know, that poster looks badass, so I'm all for it. And I'm not usually a huge Dracula fan, so...
I like Draculas.
Yeah,
just multiple Draculas?
Yeah.
Oh.
They are cool people.
Simon Kinberg has revealed the exact year in which X-Men Apocalypse will be set, so if you were obsessed with that, we already knew it was going to be in the 80s. Apparently the film will kick off in 1983.
Okay, officially.
Cool.
So that's the setting for X-Men Apocalypse.
To go back to what I was saying earlier, the movie that's a lot like The Craft with Dudes is The Covenant.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Mixed those two up.
I remember.
How dare you. Interesting news here. I had never heard of anything as far as this being a possibility. I don't know why. It makes sense. There is a humongous fan base for this that is almost as bad. No, I shouldn't say as bad. But
no, dude, let's call them out.
No. Shut up, Matt.
The Sonic the Hedgehog fandom is very polarized. They either like the one version of Sonic or the other, as far as like the old the cartoons go. We have very heated debates and comments back and forth on Behind the Voice Actors about which versions of the Sonic characters are better. But apparently Sony is planning a Sonic the Hedgehog movie or / family franchise. It doesn't really say much about it other than they're...
I like in the article it says there are limitless stories to tell with Sonic. It's like, yeah.
You've got one story. Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast. No, but like the comics got really weird at times. There's like multiple
interdimensional jumping and stuff.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff. I'm a huge fan of the comics, at least when I was a kid. So I don't know.
A child of 21 years old.
What are you talking about?
Like, I thought you did most of your Sonic reading in your early 20s.
When I was 9, I started reading Sonic.
I don't know. I remember you picking up dozens of them at Neil's.
I continued once I got back into comics when I was like 19. I started collecting again. Now I have like over 150 of them.
Wow.
Apparently, it's according to this article, if I'm reading it right, is going to be an animated / live action hybrid.
Whoa!
That's what the article said. Yeah.
Oh no!
And if that doesn't scare you enough, they're going the same route that apparently everything is. Why does everybody do this before they even release a single film? Sony is hoping that it will sustain a long-running franchise with a plan being to release a new movie in the series every year.
Every year.
I will go watch a yearly Sonic movie.
But why does everybody want to all of a sudden have plans to have like a release every year, every other year, before they even do one?
That's how they do it, man. Because they don't have enough ideas. They're like, we need to fill our schedule of movies. Sonic. Why not? If it doesn't plan out, we've got I don't know, Gex the Gecko. We can do a movie about Gex.
Oh man, we'll do a Conkers.
Yeah. Oh man.
What else would you like to see?
Arrow the Acrobat. He's a bat.
So like,
all right.
When you talked about the Sonic community, you were talking about fans of the cartoon. I was thinking of all of the people who were like, I have my own, like once Shadow the Hedgehog came out, it opened up this like Pandora's box of everyone just making homebrewed Sonic characters. It's been a big issue on like the deviant arts.
Okay, this is a fun game. Go to DeviantArt, type in your name, and then the Hedgehog.
Oh, gee.
Have you done this?
Yes.
Matt the
Hedgehog. I have. It is no good.
It's the best thing ever, dude.
Yeah. That's what I thought you were. That's what I thought you were talking about.
What do you mean?
When he was like the community for Sonic. Well, you know, I'm all about, you know, hey, I like this version of the cartoon versus that version of the cartoon. That's acceptable.
But drawing pictures of you as a Sonic the Hedgehog is not.
I don't know. Let's continue.
All right.
All right. Going into the remakes, reboot section of the news, if you're a Jeremy Renner fan, I guess you're in luck because you're going to see him on a lot of stuff, because not only is he working on Avengers 2 and a possible next Bourne movie, but he is also returning for Mission Impossible 5. So Mission Impossible 5 will be happening, and it'll have Jeremy Renner in it. I don't really care, but
it's funny, you wrote MI5 in the article or in the script. I didn't open that because I was like, I didn't used to watch that show, because MI5 is the British Secret Service.
Ah, silly me.
That's on me. I always assume.
But I guess I wouldn't plan to see him in any other films, though. Because if he's doing Avengers 2, Mission Impossible 5, and another Bourne film, he's going to be pretty busy. So that's what's going on with Jeremy Renner, I guess. Frank Darabont is on the short list to direct Snow White and the Huntsman 2. If you weren't aware that that's happening, it is happening. Frank Darabont, Gavin O'Connor, names being thrown around on their wish list as far as who to helm that project. The first film did gross $400 million globally, even though it cost $170 million to make. Kristen Stewart and Chris Hemsworth are both slated to return for round 2, which should be coming to us sometime in 2016.
Did you guys see that?
I did. It was better than Mirror Mirror. So it was the best Snow White film of that year.
That's not a winning endorsement.
Oh, yeah.
Amy suggests it's terrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, parts of it looked pretty, I guess.
Okay, I guess if three people say, I don't think I need to see it.
That's about right.
Disney planning a new live-action Beauty and the Beast.
Ew.
That'll be directed, get scared, folks, be directed by Twilight's Bill Condon.
What is the last name? I'm sorry.
Bill Condon?
Oh, okay.
They wanted him to be named Bill Condom.
I did.
He's the guy that did
William
Twilight
Johnson.
Breaking Dawn, with a script to be written by, hold on, folks, Evan Spiliotopoulos.
That
Cool.
Greek guy sounds cool. I don't know.
What was the name of the one dude, the news guy or whatever? Stephanopoulos?
George
Stephanopoulos.
Stephanopoulos.
Yeah. So this is his brother-in-law, Evan Spiliotopoulos.
Shut up.
No.
What about the comedian Economopoulos? That's a pretty good one.
They should all be in the same family. The film has yet to receive a release date, but joins two other live-action versions of animated classics on the Disney roster, being Cinderella, which will come out in 2015, and The Jungle Book, which will also come out in 2015. So Disney throwing all their eggs in one basket as far as these live-action.
Disney is not throwing their eggs in any basket. they have a market on eggs.
They have a market on everything.
I don't even know what that means.
Everything we've talked about so far is owned by Disney.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to Disney to get the eggs. They're not putting them nowhere.
The How to Train Your Dragon series, which was originally planned as a trilogy, apparently DreamWorks is considering making two more. So instead of a trilogy, we would have a foursome there.
Wait, DreamWorks is planning to make more money off of making $1 million more of a movie?
I don't believe it.
I can't wait to see Hiccup as like a grandpa. That would be great.
That's kind of funny. What other remix, reboot stuff do we got here? Oh, yeah. Why can't I never say his name? Guillermo del Toro is working on the script for Pacific Rim 2.
That's awesome.
Current draft sees Charlie Hunnam and Rinko Kikuchi's characters returning.
Cool.
So that's happening. I think most people will be happy with that. Pacific Rim was cool. Most people liked it. Says they've been working for a few months in secret. So whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Sigourney Weaver talks possibility of Alien 5. I don't know if this is because she has done nothing else recently. No, she's done some stuff, but I don't know. I'm oddly a fan of the Alien franchise, which is not usually stuff that I would necessarily like, but I actually like the Alien film franchise. I don't know exactly what they'd be doing with the fifth one.
I got something.
What do you got?
I got the subtitle, because they always have weird titles. Alien Recitation. They're trying to revive something that's gone.
I just liked it when they went Alien and then Aliens.
That was good. And then they did Alien 3, and then it was like Alien Resurrection.
Right.
And then it was
Aliens versus Predators.
But apparently she says that the story really doesn't, she doesn't feel like the story has been finished, so she would like an opportunity to try to finish that story and the character arc. So we'll see. See what people think about the thoughts of Alien 5 there. Sharknado 2.
Boo!
Whoa.
Yeah, no, boo.
No.
Sharknado 2, the second one.
It's a joke 'cause
Hey.
it's bad.
No, the thing is that I think Sharknado 2 is going to be less of we made a bad movie, let's make another bad movie, than Birdemic 2. I think
Well, yeah.
I think since everything they do is bad and they're just
Yeah.
used to making bad movies, it's going to be another bad movie, not a, hey, we're bad, haha.
Yeah.
Cast-wise for this, Ian Ziering from Beverly Hills 90210, of course.
Who?
Ian Ziering.
The old one or the remake?
From the original one.
Oh, okay.
It was a remake of 90210.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's also Tara Reid, who in this article is referred to as noted thespian Tara Reid. Kelly Osbourne, Judd Hirsch, Andy Dick, Vivica A. Fox, Mark McGrath, Sugar Ray apparently in this one, Biz Markie, Perez Hilton, Salt and Peppa's Peppa.
But no salt. Did you just say Biz Markie?
Yes.
Dude, Biz Markie.
Biz Markie.
And Kurt Angle. So, I mean, who doesn't want to see those people get eaten by sharks, I guess?
Well, I like the idea of Andy Dick dying.
Yeah.
Or getting killed in a movie. That's cool, too. But I don't know if I want to see a movie with him in it long enough for him to die.
Maybe it'll just be like they're running from the Sharknado, and then Andy Dick's like in the background, just like, "Hi guys."
and then he just gets eaten by a shark. Yeah. You know, I don't know. Like, I loved news radio, and that was the first exposure I had to Andy Dick. I think that was the first exposure America had to Andy Dick.
Right.
But somewhere in the intervening decades, he has become really annoying.
It was weird because he wanted to be, what is it called? What is that guy called? Tom Green?
Oh, yeah.
He wanted to be Tom Green for a bit.
Yeah,
and then
totally.
he just stopped doing anything. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, dude. Tom Green did it and then got cancer, and we all got sad, and then we didn't want that ever again.
You were sad when he had cancer?
Well, it was sad, yeah.
Oh.
I wasn't like, oh no, we're gonna lose someone that's important to my culture. It wasn't like that. It was just like he got super depressing and stuff, and it's like
he did a song about his balls.
That came like either earlier or later or whatever. I remember there were some very depressing times with him.
Fine.
Speaking of older actors or actresses that are feeling that their old characters' stories are not finished, Ron Perlman, again, is discussing the possibility of a third Hellboy film. Quote, "I'd like to finish it. I'd like for there to be a third film because the first two films were set up for this huge resolve, and apparently Guillermo, God, I can't say his name.
Del Toro.
Yes, he already has some ideas of a story mapped out, and next time I'll just say, Nate, say the name. Hellboy 3?
Yeah, I'm good.
It's only been a decade since the first one, why not?
I like,
You laugh, but, like, it's been more than that since the last Sin City or the last 300, and those both worked.
That's true.
Well, one of them worked, the other one hasn't come out yet.
Hellboy's a good franchise, I like it. It's fun.
All right. In something that's very not needed, Warner planning a new Scooby-Doo reboot.
Frank Welker as a voice of Scooby-Doo, I'm assuming?
No, live-action version, like they did back however many years ago it was, with a bunch of crappy actors.
Dude, Matthew Lillard is a genius.
I like how Kevin was like, no, like, you're like, Frank Welker as Scooby-Doo, and he's like, no, this was live action. like I guess the Scooby-Doo can't still be voiced by Frank Welker.
Yeah, I guess they could, but
they should have Frank Welker just playing, what's his face? Fred.
Yeah.
They should actually all be old people.
Man, like that was.
Everyone else is doing the young thing. Let's do the old thing. There's certain franchises that don't need to be done in live action. Nate, I know you like the films, but Flintstones and Scooby-Doo do not need to be done in live action.
I don't like Scooby-Doo.
No, I meant you like Flintstones.
I only like Flintstones because of nostalgia.
I got a segue we're not going to use, but you want to know another one that shouldn't be a live action? Paddington Bear.
Real quick before we go to Paddington, Neil Fanning played Scooby in the movies. Why they didn't choose Frank Welker is beyond me.
Because even Frank Welker said no to that.
Wow.
Big bird.
You know what's funny? He's probably in the movie somewhere as a voice of like a random animal anyway.
The last live action was back in 2002. It did make $275 million globally. I just don't know if there's really a draw for this. I mean, the cartoons do well enough. I don't know if there's really a need for live action. Certain things just don't do good in live action. Casper, Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, maybe Paddington Bear. And there's an interesting article that just came out about Paddington Bear because we had just reported that Colin Firth was doing the voice of Paddington Bear. Well, he has since then dropped out. Not because he disliked the story or anything like that. I kind of actually respect what he says. He's seen most of it. He thinks it's going to be a decent film. He said he feels rather protective of the bear, but he basically just didn't feel like his voice fit the character.
That's cool.
So, I mean, that's kind of I can respect that he actually dropped out because of something like that. So apparently the search is on for a new voice for Paddington the Bear because that movie's coming out in November. So, I mean, I think most of the rest of it's done.
It's just gonna play like a dubbed Asian film. Just like, throw your voice in, go, get this out now. Oh man,
there is some other big names that are attached to that film doing other voice work, but I have not heard any rumors yet as to even possibilities as to who would play that. Did you guys ever see the old Paddington Bear cartoon?
No.
No.
But the thing is, I'm looking at this picture on the article. It looks
Yes.
terrifying.
Well, I mean, it was an interesting. I want to say that that was a UK property. I could be wrong with that, but it was an interesting cartoon. I remember seeing it when I was super young. Some of the other voices attached to this, Nicole Kidman is probably the biggest name. Yeah, most of the other ones people probably won't recognize, but I don't know. I don't feel like this is one of those ones that has, I understand that a lot of stuff's getting rebooted from the 80s, try to draw on those audiences that grew up with it, but I don't feel like Paddington was ever that popular. So I don't know.
I've only never known it as a book series. I didn't know it had a cartoon. I've got a bunch of the books back at home.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see how it does. I don't expect it to do super well at the box office, apparently, or especially if they're putting a voice in the last minute. So that should be interesting to see how that actually turns out. Resident Evil 6, likely to be the last film in the Resident Evil franchise, or they could just sound stupid like everybody because they're going to title it Resident Evil: The Final Chapter,
and then do Resident Evil: We're Back Again.
Because every time a movie names itself to like a concluding name like that, stuff always happens, and then there's another one.
Look at Final Fantasy.
Look at Final Destination.
Well, was that because the first Final Destination was supposed to be the only movie?
No, he means.
Well, no, but they eventually
Final Destination.
Yeah, they eventually titled the Final Destination, and then they immediately came out with another one. I believe. I lost track of that after the first film.
Yeah.
You think there'll be more than this one more Resident Evil?
Yeah, if not just like a CG one, they're gonna keep milking the franchise. That's what Capcom does. I mean, I don't know.
Fair enough. Confirmation that Tom Hardy is playing a young version of Sam Fisher on the Splinter Cell movie. I'm
down with that.
So he will play a younger version of the franchise's hero. So just about, it says in the article, quote, everything about Splinter Cell will be younger. Fresher, newer, and younger.
Is that what we need?
No. I would like to see like a really old dude be a spy. Just like he's been being a spy and now he's like 55 and he's just like super grizzled. And...
Actually, hold that thought. Did you watch the trailer for whatever the movie had that one guy in it?
Dude,
yes.
Yeah, I did.
We'll get to that.
I have no idea what you're talking about, actually.
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
As far as Doctor Strange, I know we talked about it a little bit, but there seems to be some pretty major names being thrown around, and I know some of this is going to be older news than others, but I know we talked about Johnny Depp at first. Jared Leto has also been linked to possibly play Doctor Strange. I think both of them fit the look. But also Tom Hardy and Benedict Cumberbatch seem to be on the list there. I don't feel like they would be as easy to do there. Joseph Gordon-Levitt also thrown out there.
Well, I think Benedict Cumberbatch would be good as Doctor Strange.
Doesn't Doctor Strange just... I don't know. I like Benedict Cumberbatch. I can't picture him as that character. But
you give him a Fu Manchu or whatever he has. That'd be fine.
I like Doctor Strange, so I want a good actor.
And
yeah, he is a good actor.
He's a good actor.
Well, Johnny Depp, Jared Leto, and Benedict Cumberbatch are all basically, Academy caliber actors. I don't know about Tom Hardy. That seems like a weird pull for me. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I'm a fan of his, but again, I don't know if I see him as much in the role. I actually think Jared Leto is a good choice there. That would be who I would want to see in that role. And if you guys haven't seen Jared Leto and some of his films, you should go check him out because that guy can act. Not just Dallas Buyers Club either. He's been in some other stuff that's been pretty impressive. So we'll see. See what the listeners want. Who do they want Doctor Strange to be played by? And then some other things about Star Wars Episode 7. We know Lupita Nyong'o and Gwendolyn Christie have been cast. Apparently, one of them may be a villain. It's saying that there's probably going to be some type of female villain in some type of key role in Episode 7. So we'll see if it's one of those two. And I'm sure we'll get a crap ton more Star Wars rumors, as we seem to every week. Let's let people react to one more casting news, and that would be Jason Momoa, Drago from Game of Thrones, as most people will recognize, reported to be playing Aquaman in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
That's an interesting choice, I guess. Whatever.
How do you really?
I feel like we should just record a generic reaction to any Batman vs. Superman rumor. And then I'll just
like I'm super interested in Batman vs. Superman. I just, I think of Aquaman and I think of how Aryan he's supposed to look, and like it's like, yeah, we got that dude. He's like super tan, got long black hair in most of his movies.
Why does he look so Aryan?
I don't know, man.
Like he's
blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skinned dude. What do you want from me?
He's like he like lives underwater. I guess I would.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And it's saying that they are trying to tie it directly into what. Now, I guess I should preface this with some spoilers possibly coming up, but I haven't done that with any of the other stories, so whatever. The whole Superman's fight with Zod. Apparently it had some type of effect that Aquaman isn't happy with the destruction that was unleashed upon the Indian Ocean.
What? Oh, wait, I remember that. I think we're talking specifically about the one part at the end. I was like...
So apparently that has rattled his cage.
Did he feel the shockwave of, like, him cracking his neck?
Yeah. Way to go, Nate.
Whatever.
And apparently, since Jeremy Renner is involved with so many films, they are pushing the Bourne 5 release a little bit. Bourne, I don't know what it's going to be called. Bourne whatever. The fifth movie will be delayed until summer 2016. And Matt Damon will not be appearing in it in any way. Because I know the thoughts, you guys might not be aware of this, but they did all the three Bourne films with Matt Damon, and then they did the next one with Jeremy Renner, and the rumors at the time were that eventually Matt Damon would come back and there would be like a crossover film where they're both in it, but up to this point Matt Damon's still not slated to be in any of these films yet, so those people that were hoping that he would come back to the franchise may have to wait a little bit longer for that to happen. All right. We have a lot of trailers that have come out in the last couple weeks. We're not going to talk about all of them because this would end up being a very long podcast.
Also, most of them sucked.
Oh.
And some of them suck. So we're going to kind of hit some of the highlights for each person. I believe there was probably 30, 35 trailers?
Sure.
That's a lot.
That's just a guess. So, I mean, there was a lot of trailers. So we'll just kind of go around the table, the proverbial table here, and talk about any that kind of caught your fancy or that you're looking forward to. I know that there's a few that I am for sure looking forward to. Let's start with Nate. Nate, what's at least one that you're looking forward to?
Probably the most on this list is Home, the animated film with the alien and the girl.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Oh is the name of that alien.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting for me to see. I'm glad that I'm seeing this a black female lead. Which, how often do you get that when it's just not market? It doesn't feel marketed towards any sort of demographic.
Right.
In particular. And I just enjoy that, but there's not enough of that. So
yeah,
I feel you. Matt, what about you? Any that you decided that you might be interested in?
So this is cheating, but I'm going to say Frank because I was interested in that like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, really, I was not impressed with any of these, if I can remember. Like, whatever one had Pierce Brosnan in it looked kind of interesting. I would see that.
What about
November
Birdman?
Birdman? What the fuck is Birdman doing? Birdman, what are you doing? He was all like, dude, you're a drug washed-up movie star. And he's like, I'm putting on the bird suit. And then, like, a 60-foot tall bird climbs on a skyscraper, and it's like, ah!
Yes.
It's like, and then, like, some, like, I don't know, whiny emo music. Whatever happens. I don't know, man. What the fuck?
It's got Edward Norton in it.
Yeah, dude, at that time when he punches Edward Norton in the face was hilarious. I would go see that.
Ed Norton and Michael Keaton, I mean, come on.
Yeah, dude, I'd go see Birdman. I don't know if the trailer didn't sell me on it,
Right.
but I'm interested.
I think they shouldn't have even done a trailer. They should have just shown the picture of Michael Keaton dressed up as Birdman.
Dude, that picture...
And just been like Birdman.
That picture's been circling around the internet for like a month or two now, and every time I see it, I'm like, what is this? What is this?
That's all it should have been. There should have been no trailers, no teasers, just, it should have said Ed Norton, Michael Keaton, and then a picture of dude in Birdman suit.
Now, is that based on, like, in any form on the actual Birdman, like, you know, Harvey Birdman?
I don't know if it's Hanna-Barbera, right? I don't know if it's based on...
It should be the live-action version of that. That would have been awesome.
That's what I thought. Like, when I saw that and I heard Birdman, I thought, like, oh no, are they just like... Well, it was a popular 2000s comedy. Let's bring it back.
I would watch that.
I would have watched that.
Dude, I played the Birdman video game.
There's a Birdman video game?
Yeah, it's just like Ace Attorney.
Oh, it's a Harvey Birdman video game.
Yes.
I would be more interested in a Birdman video game.
But then it would just be like a standard beat 'em up.
No, like, because he gets his power from the sun, and, like, so, like, they would make levels that would be dark and he'd be weakened. Like, they could do it.
Yeah.
As far as other animated films that that had previous going out there, or partially animated films, obviously we had the trailer for Paddington, Home, like Nate mentioned. We had Penguins of Madagascar, all out there for animated kids films. I did want to mention a few of them, not that I'm interested in them, but just because I've not interested in seeing them, but I found it interesting that they exist. My Man is a Loser. I just wanted to bring that up because that's starring John Stamos.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know he was acting.
No.
So
he's not. He's still not.
School Dance, which I shouldn't need to say anything else. Don't go see that. Very Good Girls is interesting only for the fact that it pairs Dakota Fanning and Elizabeth Olsen as the two main stars in that. Which is kind of, I don't know, I find that interesting. That they'll be kind of, I mean, it looks like an awful plot, but...
Yeah. No, is it just me, or are they, like, bringing Dakota Fanning back and bringing her back in really awkward movies?
Yes.
Like, I want to see what you have done since becoming a non-childhood actor, but right. I'm not going to see any of your movies because they look terrible.
And speaking of terrible movies, The Best of Me, you don't need to see the trailer or see the movie. You just need to know that that is a Nicholas Sparks film, and you've already seen it. You've already seen it multiple times. Are You Here? I don't know about that one. That one I'm a little thrown. Zach Galifianakis,
oh, yeah.
Amy Poehler, let me get the right Wilson brother down.
Owen?
Yes. I couldn't get a good read on that, but I mean, it has people I like in it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Frontera, I mean, if you're into the whole Mexican border wars, it's starring Ed Harris. It's kind of an interesting thing where Ed Harris is trying to bring justice, I guess, to the Frontera. Oh, jeez. Lullaby, I mean, if you want to go cry about people that had cancer, you can see that film.
But you don't want to see The Fault in Our Stars. You want to cry about cancer in a different one.
No, I mean, I feel like this is now becoming to the point where it's being overdone because it was done super well. One of my favorite films of the year it came out was 50-50, which does it excellently. Fault in Our Stars is really good too, but now it's like, how many films are we going to do? And I'm not trying to make light of this. I have family, you know, my dad died of cancer, and I'm not trying to make light of it at all, but how many films do we need that are just doing the same thing, basically. Dumb and Dumber 2, Nate, you saw the trailer for that way before I think even I did.
I was on that. I was like...
What's your level of interest on Dumb and Dumber 2?
All of it. Because I want to know, are they going to just say, hey, remember that joke 20 years ago? Wasn't that hilarious? We're going to do it again. I want to know if they're going to do that or if they're going to, like, tease us with all the old jokes and then you go into the theater and it's a bunch of new stuff and it's hilarious. Because, I mean, I love Dumb and Dumber. I mean, I've watched it 1,000 times and I kind of, like, memorized it. You know, it's one of those movies.
I don't think you've seen it 1,000 times.
I've seen it probably 100.
I know he's seen it too many times, if that counts.
See, Matt is a hater because he hates about everything.
I don't hate about everything. Like, I don't know. I love Dumb and Dumber, and then I aged to about 10 and was like, whoa, maybe I don't.
See, I feel like that about like Bill and Ted and even to a point Wayne's World and stuff like that, but
Bill and Ted's still interesting.
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber I still like. But maybe I haven't seen it. Maybe it's because I haven't seen it 100 times.
Yeah. I mean, it's this weird thing where like you're watching a movie and you know every little bit of it, and like I don't know, it's not funny because you know it. You know.
I actually prefer comedy that I like get to memorize. I don't know.
I liked Ace Ventura more than Dumb and Dumber, I think.
I disagree.
Is that wrong?
I don't know if I did then, but I think now I think it might have been better.
Yeah. Speaking of comedies, another one from James Franco and Seth Rogen, The Interview.
Oh, yeah.
What did you think of that one, Nate?
I want to watch it. I don't know. I love James Franco, and like he and Seth Rogen do stuff together well.
I like Seth Rogen. Not that I don't like James Franco. Sin City, another trailer for that.
That has me concerned. That trailer has me concerned about that movie.
How come?
I don't know, man. It's like, here's the thing. Like it happened simultaneously with the other movie or something like that, because like characters that were dead are back. And it's like they're not going to be able to kill that character, so I know that any intense scene with them, well, they're going to get through.
Right.
That
makes sense.
That immediately turns me off on that point. And I feel like all the stylistic things they did from the first one, they're like, let's just turn that up to 10 now. And it's like, it's getting to the point where it's almost distracting from the story. Like, when the guy has stitches on his face, or the girl, I can't remember which, and it's like, some of them are white and some of them are black. And it's like, you know, maybe in a comic book where it's like, there's a lot of shading and stuff, that might have been really well done. But in the movie, it has me worried.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm still interested in seeing the first one, so that'll definitely be something we need to see here in
the
next...
You still haven't seen... I was talking to a guy who... I show my stuff to friends at work, and one of the guys was like, wow, that Kevin guy hasn't seen something?
Hey, you show your stuff?
I think it was Sin City. Yeah, dude, I just whipped my junk out at work.
Not that part. I don't need to rectify that.
Yes,
fans of Idris Elba... You can look forward to No Good Deed, The Equalizer with Denzel Washington. Viggo Mortensen looks terrible in The Two Faces of January. The Liberator for those that like a historical piece. Dear White People, I shouldn't need to say anything else about that.
It looks interesting.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, the trailer was done interestingly. I don't know exactly what they're going for, but could be funny. I wrote down possibly funny next to it.
Yeah, like, I think the trailer didn't do, like, if someone's like, hey, it's Dear White People, and it's about intelligent black people, showing you that not all black people movie needs to be dumb, and it's like, yeah, okay, I would give money to that, even if I don't see it, because that sounds like a good idea, because I'm fucking tired of Tyler Perry, and it's bullshit. But it's like,
Kevin Hart?
What? No, Kevin Hart's hilarious. Kevin Hart is hilarious. Tyler Perry is stupid. I said it, and I'm gonna follow it. But like, I don't know, the trailer really didn't interest me like the concept did. So I'm hoping that there's another trailer that sells it.
For those people that are fans of cheating, you can see Addicted, about a movie about a lady who's addicted to cheating. That seems awful. Ragnarok, did you guys see that one?
Oh my god, I could write a 50-page essay on how much that is like the worst trailer of all time.
Like, okay, so obviously, like, it's a modern-day monster movie that doesn't need to be called Ragnarok.
It needs
if
to
they
be
didn't call it Ragnarok, how would you feel?
If
How
they,
about that? Why doesn't it just call it the Loch Ness Monster?
boom, there you go, Loch Ness. You know.
Yeah. More people would know what that is, and it would make it sound a little less like some random cheap version of something trying to be something else.
Right.
When Amy and I were watching trailers, like, we were just, taking turns choosing one and watching it, and I was like, Ragnarok, and I'm like, uh-oh, I'm going to click that, and it better be a fantasy movie, and I click it, and it's like a monster movie, and I'm like, it better be a movie about a big wolf. Because you could do a monster movie during Ragnarok, and it just follows Fenris, the big old wolf. And then, like, it opens up, and it's all like, it had, like, Celtic-looking night guys. And I was like, yeah. And then it had, like, a computer, and I was like, what? And it was like, and then they brought, a guy who's not going to do as well as the original movie guy. And he's like, in a world.
Yeah, it was really weird how, like...
It was super 90s.
Yeah.
It's like, we've overcome this style of trailer. We don't need to go back, and then also this movie looks really bad.
When do you think they're going to start doing, like, fan movies of 90s, like, stuff? Or like, they're going to try to capture the essence of the 90s and make it modern.
They're starting to do a little bit. What was the Girl Meets World, a new series about to hit TV?
Oh, right.
Girl Meets World, the Boy Meets World cast all grown up from the other's perspective now.
No, wait. We're going to get, like, Topanga's going to get her own show?
Yeah, it's happening. I think it already started, or it's starting this fall.
Are they going to get Feeney?
I think he's dead. But,
no, don't even.
No.
Don't even.
I don't know.
Saying it with no remorse.
You
Okay,
don't
but
fuck with Feeney, man.
no,
I actually have no clue. I just
he's not dead.
And he never will die.
He's 87.
I don't think he's doing the TV series. Maybe he'll make a cameo.
Shut up.
He better make a pilot cameo. That's
I think we're on the cusp. We're on the cusp of 90s stuff, but they haven't quite run out of 80s stuff
But
yet.
do you know what I mean? Like, what is it? All of the Robert Rodriguez stuff is like send off to like the drive-in movies of the 70s and stuff, and it's like they're doing more of like 80s. Schlock they're trying to bring back.
Until we get a new live-action He-Man and or Thundercats film, we cannot move on to the 90s
When
yet.
are we going to get a Hercules and Xena remake?
But Nate's not...
I think that's the third Hercules film coming out this year, actually.
Nate's not talking about just grabbing the 90s franchises and doing them. He's talking about capturing the essence of
Yeah.
Like
I don't know what the essence of the 90s is.
Like movies that feel like Saved by the Bell.
No, that's not 90s.
We still haven't...
No,
yeah, that's also...
close enough.
But like, we need...
Don't try to... No, 90s... Your decade tries to grab stuff from the 80s and claim it to be your own. Stop it.
Dude, the 90s was like the Rome of the decades. Just steals things from everyone else and it's like, yeah, that was ours.
That was ours.
That was ours.
Vote for bell bottoms in the 90s, guys.
Simpsons definitely didn't start in 1989. A couple of films that might get some Oscar buzz or award buzz in some way, shape, or form, maybe if they pan out. Looks like they have potential. About Alex and The Good Lie. I'm not saying that I'll necessarily be huge fans of either of them, but they seem to have that potential. A couple more comedies, Sex Tape and The Wedding Ringer.
Okay.
Wedding Ringer looks stupid.
That is okay.
I don't know. But the film I'm actually looking forward to more than anything else on this entire list,
You
since
hate
last
Kevin
one
Hart.
I'll talk about. What's
I
that?
hate Kevin Hart.
No, I actually like Kevin
Oh,
Hart.
well, all right. Well, he shot down every movie he's been in.
I like him as a comedian. I don't know about The Wedding Ringer.
Okay.
Hey,
well, wedding movies generally I hate.
I got some
Yeah.
knowledge for you. According
Yes.
to IMDb, he does play Feeney in the pilot, which airs in 4 days.
No way.
Yeah, dude, that's what.
Talk about it next week, guys.
Ugh, I don't.
What was that, Matt?
That's like me going, I don't remember this show. It came out when I was 6. Like, I remember enjoying it, and I remember Feeny! Like, but I don't remember the...
Spookbot from that show has gone on to do a whole crap ton of voice acting as in the superhero cartoons.
Yeah.
Will something. Yes.
Something.
Will Riedel. I don't know. The film I'm most looking forward to on this entire list, though, is the film The Judge, starring Robert Downey Jr. I don't know why. This is on one of my... when we were looking forward to 2014 films, I don't think it actually made my list, but it was one I was considering for a long time, but there wasn't any information on it at that point, except for who it was starring. But I think that trailer looks pretty good. So I am definitely looking forward to The Judge even more than I was at the beginning of the year. And then there was new trailers for Hercules, the Rock version, The Giver, Expendables 3, and Guardians of the Galaxy. So links to all of those and even some trailers that we didn't talk about will be on the website under this episode
real
post.
Quick.
Wait. Okay, you go, Nate.
Hercules looks awesome, and also, if there was a band where, like in Frank, where a guy wears a mask like that, if there was a band like that in real life, I would listen to it. Just saying.
Okay, I agree with him on that.
Matt, before you talk, I think they should do a special screening that shows both Hercules films side by side.
No. No one ever needs to see the other one.
Like, here's a line that looks real. Here's a line that looks fake. Go ahead, Matt.
They both have CG lines, and one of them is believable. 2 points. One, The Giver. My girlfriend Amy was very upset with the first trailer, and so this new one that's all black and white she really loves because it follows the book a lot more. But then 2, Leprechaun Origins. What is that? Like, have either of you guys seen the original Leprechaun movies?
No.
Okay, so it's about a midget that goes around cursing people because they steal his gold, right? Because it's a fucking leprechaun. This next one, the Leprechaun Origins, which you'd think, like, well, is it a new Leprechaun? Is the old one? It's like every franchise has a before movie or something like that, it says in the trailer, because it's like, we are part of that other one. And it's about a giant ogre that eats people.
All right.
What?
Yeah, dude, it's like, it has no gold, it had no leprechauns, it was just like a giant ogre thing eating people. It's like, hey man, don't.
That is an interesting strategy that they've picked for that one then.
It's like making Puppet Master Origins, which actually the retro Puppet Master I really want to see, which is the equivalent of that.
Have you seen any of the Puppet Masters, Matt?
No.
I have 3 of them.
Do you have retro Puppet Master?
I don't believe so. I have the one where they fight Nazis, though.
I only want the one that stars Greg Sestero, for obvious reasons. But they'd be like doing that and then having him like have no puppets. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. Episode 1 would have no Force or lightsabers or Star Wars. You don't do that. It doesn't make any sense.
I agree with everything you're saying. Nate, any other trailer that we didn't talk about or something that you wanted to say?
No, I'm just really excited about Hercules. And Guardians of the Galaxy looks good. I'm excited for that one too, but I don't know. I feel like I should be excited for that one. So it's not interesting for me to say that.
Matt?
I don't know. It's good. It's good.
All right, so thanks for sticking with us through that entire spiel of movie news, trailers, and everything. We are all caught up. We'll be right back to talk about what we've been watching in the last couple of weeks and a few movies that we've seen in the theaters.
Wow.
There is evil in this world. Hatred. And revenge. How wonderful.
Thanks for sticking with us, and we will try to go through some of the films that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, as well as some mini discussions on some of the theatrical releases that we've seen. I can barely even remember stuff that I've seen in the last couple of weeks, so somebody else start. Nate, what have you seen recently?
I'm getting there. Matt, you go.
So the only thing that I think I watched without either of you guys present was The Incredibles.
What'd you think?
I've seen it before. It's great. I can't wait to see the second one. Yeah, dude, I love superhero movies. So doing that and then like doing it so well, they did such a good job. Like stretchy powers have been, they've been done. There's Elastic Man, there's Elongated Man, there's Mr. Fantastic, but the Elastigirl I think does it the best. She's the most entertaining and interesting. She's a little bit of Elastic Man, a little bit of Elongated Man, and it's a nice meeting.
I agree.
Other than that, I don't know, like, did we talk about Sleeping Beauty last time?
No.
Yeah,
I
did not.
Sleeping Beauty for the first time. I've not seen the Disney princess movies. Like, I think I could say I hadn't seen Sleeping Beauty. I haven't seen, Snow White, Cinderella. Well, I might have seen Cinderella, but I don't remember it because I was like 6. So I haven't seen The Little Mermaid. Like,
whoa,
that needs to be corrected immediately.
Seriously.
I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of them, and I know a lot of the tropes and things from them because I'm plugged into pop culture at the very least.
Yeah.
But I haven't sat down and watched them, especially not as an adult.
You can skip Snow White, but you have to see Little Mermaid.
Okay. But I watched Sleeping Beauty as a precursor to Maleficent because I wanted to know what I was and wasn't missing. So I watched that. That movie is, like, while watching it, I was just like, man, this movie sucks. But when it was done, I was like, you know what? That movie is actually awesome, but only because of my modern view on things like wizardry. Because it's like, those fairies were fucking wizard as shit. They were just like, we're just going to take your baby. We're just going to take this baby. Oh, we fucked up. And they're like, oh, we fucked up? Set everyone asleep. They're just like rampant abuse of magic. Like they were just like, whoa, we made a mistake. Throw more magic at it. And it was like, that movie is hilarious.
That's good. That is good.
Nate, have you seen anything besides the ones we saw together?
Yeah, no, I watched. I don't know if I said this last time. I watched Machete Kills. The second Machete. What's that?
You did mention it last time, I think.
I think I mentioned it on our other podcast.
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you've mentioned it on MWIRE.
And that was really good. I was watching it, and Megan was like, how do they get so many big stars? Because they have, like, Mel Gibson, and it's crazy. They had Charlie Sheen, which, I mean, I doubt it's really that hard to get him, but, yeah, it's a weird franchise, and I love it. It's so much fun. But I saw Conan the Barbarian with everyone.
Yeah, that movie happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did watch that together.
That was 2011, I guess. Was that 2011?
Well, I thought it was 12, but Jason Momoa.
Well, the Jason Momoa one, and that was nothing like Conan.
It really wasn't.
That was a love story dressed up like a Conan movie.
It wasn't even dressed up. It was a love story, and then also people said the word Conan in it.
And then,
is that the movie that really you could just skip all of, except for the last scene? Was that the one that had the cool stuff at the end?
No,
or was that
that was Hercules.
Okay. We watched Hercules, the new one.
Also, another movie dressed up under a Hercules title.
Yeah, dude. Like, this like, Nate and I are always down for fantasy. I imagine Kevin's right there with us.
Yeah.
And these two movies were shitty. Like, you need a good fantasy movie. Someone put the money there and make it happen. Hopefully The Rock's new Hercules movie is okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Both of those movies were bad.
Yeah.
They were terrible. The CG on Hercules was just unbearable at times.
Yeah. Kevin and I watched 47 Ronin with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, man. How was it?
It was pretty boring.
Okay, good.
I don't know. Did you feel that way, Kevin?
I felt that it had potential at times, and it was awful at times.
It had a really terrible comedic relief character that was like basically his whole character was, haha, he's fat. Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what else it had? An awful ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's awful. It's different. But I mean, it's based on an old Japanese like story, so it wouldn't have a classic ending.
I understand that, but I don't know.
I mean, there would be uproar if it didn't end properly.
That movie, the main problem with that movie is that the trailers made it seem like a different film.
It's probably due to the studio, not really the filmmaker.
But I mean, it just seemed like there was going to be a lot more like crazy magic and effects and visual things going on that never really happened.
They were like sprinkled in. Like here's a giant monster. Here's some weird clothing. I don't know. It was a weird movie.
I did also see. I know you were still talking about films, but since we just talked about Conan and Hercules, and I also saw I, Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, Frankenstein.
All right. Apparently, that is not.
No, I want you to talk because I'm super interested in that movie, and I'm a little upset we watched Hercules instead of it.
Yes, as you should be. It has Aaron Eckhart in it, Bill Nighy, a couple other people that aren't as well known possibly. But I, Frankenstein basically is about devils versus gargoyles. And Frankenstein is thrown in there to fight amongst them, I guess. Apparently what the plans were was that this was eventually going to have a crossover with Underworld.
Yeah.
The Underworld film series, but that sense has been scrapped. But honestly, maybe it's just because I had just seen Conan and Hercules, The Legend of Hercules, excuse me. I don't want to confuse it with any other Hercules film that hasn't yet been released. But I liked I, Frankenstein better than both of those. I thought the effects were better, the visual stuff was better. It was just more consistent throughout, where it actually felt like, not that he was... It's weird because Conan didn't feel like Conan to me, and Hercules didn't feel like Hercules, and this doesn't really feel like Frankenstein so much. But I think it's okay because it was wrapped up in a fairly decent experience. I'm not saying this is a great film. It did terrible in the box office, and a lot of people disliked it, but I actually enjoyed this film. I think it's worth watching. I would be interested to see if you two watch this, what your opinions of it would be compared to those other ones we were just talking about. But I don't know much about Aaron Eckhart, but I liked him in this role. There were some cool fight scenes. The gargoyles and the devils were done very well. So I think it's worth a watch. I'm not saying it's the best film or anything like that, but I enjoyed it. What else did we watch together? Anything?
Oh, I don't know about together, but I only got 2 more movies left.
Go ahead.
I watched The Road to El Dorado.
Oh wow, nice.
And I feel like it was weird. Like, Megan has seen this movie a billion times, and I've seen it in the background playing, And I'm like, yeah, I've seen that movie. Yeah, of course I have. I know what that is, right? And then I sat down and, actually watched it, the whole thing from start to finish. And I realized that, I have never seen this ever. So it was, it was awesome. It's a good movie.
It looks good. I've always been interested in it, especially because it has very unique characters or interesting characters.
It's got a fun bromance.
Yeah, I've never actually sat down and watched it.
The female character isn't very strong in it, but I don't know. I liked it. The animation is really interesting. It's good. It's they do a lot of really little bits with their facial expressions and stuff you don't see in a Disney movie.
I've seen GIFs and pictures taken from it, so it's got to have animated faces for that, right?
Right.
The only other film I saw besides the ones that we kind of saw in theater, I saw Walk of Shame.
Wasn't that in?
That was in theater earlier this year, and that was not nearly as funny as it needed to be.
It needed to be funnier?
Oh, man.
Yeah, it needed to be funnier. If I could suggest anybody else to watch the film, it needed to be funnier. But because it was not, I could not suggest anybody else to watch that film.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
I mean, it wasn't awful, god-awful, but it needed to be funnier.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Nate, you saw a film in theater this week. Go ahead, Matt.
One more. How to Train Your Dragon 1.
Yeah.
Watched, because I had never seen it, and I wanted to have the option of seeing the sequel in theaters.
I've seen this a handful of times, maybe a full fist of times. How did you feel about it, Matt?
That's a visual.
I enjoyed it. Dude, Nate and, like, dragons and fists. That's
okay,
how...
shut up. Just go.
I had not seen it. I did not expect it to be half as brutal as it was.
You liked it?
Yeah, no, I liked it. That's not what I was talking about right now.
Brutal.
It was brutal. Like, just Vikings are getting, like, gobbled up and burned to death, and, like, dragons are getting eaten and, like, shot and killed. It was very violent.
That's cool.
But you know what?
The second one?
I haven't seen the second one, but what about it?
More violent.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, it's like one of those things where it's like it was still acceptable and still a kid's movie, and I like that we don't always have to baby our children, because, like, sometimes that gets annoying. Like, heck, like, what was it, Superman 3, like, the Richard Donner Superman 3 has, like, no deaths, even though people are, like, falling from, like, buildings and, like, falling off of cliffs, and then they shows them crawling out of the car, and it's like, no way. But you watch this How to Train Your Dragon Mom, and, like, it's just, like, no one's getting back up later.
How to Train Your Dragon Mom?
Dude, every time I have so much trouble not saying How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon. And they came out at, like, similar times and stuff, even. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and it was a fun kid's film. Now Nate could talk about his.
But you did not go and see the second one?
Not yet.
Okay, but Nate, you did, so as far as the ones that have been in the theater that we've seen, you can start it off. What was your reaction to How to Train Your Dragon 2?
It's really good. I don't know, it's hard to talk about it. It does things that you wouldn't expect a kids movie to do. Like, at the end of the first movie, the main character is essentially an amputee now.
Yeah, but that's right. He doesn't even need physical therapy to get over it, so it's pretty easy.
Well, yeah, and they didn't really dwell on it, but it's just cool because it sort of addresses that kind of thing, where, like, the main character doesn't have a leg, and then the main dragon doesn't have a fin. You know, it's sort of like dealing with disabilities. So that's cool.
On the same side, even.
Yeah, and then also, not to spoil too much. But there's this, they basically have giant dragons that are bigger than all the other dragons, alpha dragons, and there's a scene where two of them fight, and it's like, man, this is way better than Godzilla. It was awesome.
Oh, man.
And then, I don't know, they do stuff with characters, and I don't know. I really liked it. I like how the characters grew up. They didn't just stay... Not everything was like it wasn't a retread at all. Like, there was no, like, things from the first movie that really carried over to just have, we're doing this again. It felt like a completely different storyline, and it's a great true sequel. Like, you don't really get a lot of times.
Do you get more of, like, because at the end of the first one they have that, like, the smart ones telling everyone, you know, like, hey, it's the thing you need to worry about, and, like, they're all working together as a team, and they're all got their own various dragons. Like, does it have more of that?
What, like Vikings on dragons?
Like Vikings, like a Viking, like the kids, like the teenagers all teaming up together and working as a group. Like, because that was what you got at the very end of the first one, and I really liked that.
Yeah, even more so. They're basically a team of dragon riders. They're like
the Avengers.
Kind of. Yeah, but it's just cool because, like, now it starts off with Vikings ride dragons, and it's awesome. And Hiccup goes around, and he's like plotting out the world because he's finding all these new islands and stuff. And they're finding and meeting new people, and they're literally growing. Like
that's great.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like they're not just like, here's another issue that has come up on our island. There's these things called not dragons that are bad, but they turn out to be good because that's how this story goes. It's not like that at all.
Good.
Better than the first one or not?
Oh yeah, way better.
And
I can easily say better than the first one.
So the people always ask us to rate our stuff, so since we didn't all see the same movie, we'll just each rate the films that we did see. So 1 through 5, what would you give How to Train Your Dragon 2?
I'd probably give it a 4. Yeah, I'll stick with a 4.
All right.
I don't think it's better than well, it's so different because right now my favorite movie of the year is Grand Budapest Hotel.
Heck yeah, man.
And they're two different. You know what? This one gets a 4.5 for kids movies.
All right.
And then Grand Budapest gets a 4.5 for being awesome.
Fair enough. Matt, you just saw the one film, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we get that, I just remembered that I did see another film in the theater, so it works. And I just recently actually saw this a couple days ago, and that was I decided that I can't keep ripping on a certain individual if I don't ever see any of his films anymore. No.
Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Did you see the day after Groundhog's Day?
I did see The Edge of Tomorrow. Because I've boycotted his last like 3 or 4 films, but I figure I should give him a shot. So I went and saw Edge of Tomorrow, which has Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, Bill Paxton, who I haven't seen in anything in a long time, I don't think, unless I just have mistakenly forgotten about it. I will say that it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Basically, you have Tom Cruise playing a guy who, at the beginning of the film, and this is not really spoiling anything, but at the beginning of the film, he's portrayed as like a media relations type guy, somebody who, you know, the Army uses to sell a war to people or to, you know, sell support for funding of a certain, you know, weapon or vehicle or this, that, and the other. So he's kind of like this media type guy who gets thrown into this war, and they're fighting these things called mimics.
I've seen those. They're treasure chests. You open them up and they're a bad guy.
Well, they are bad. And so he is thrown basically into the front lines of this and ends up getting into a situation where, like the trailer shows, he's basically kind of stuck in a time loop. I won't go into the details of how or why, but basically he is living a certain day over and over again. He meets Emily Blunt's character, who he continues to try to... basically, she's like this war hero, and she has had the same type of experience that he has had, so they can kind of relate to that. And together they're trying to work to try to kill these mimics. There's like these just like regular mimics who are just these crazy 1,000-leg arm things that just spin out of control and kill people. But there's also these alpha mimics who are much bigger. I guess they're the male of this alien race, and they're very much more rare than the other mimics, and they're fighting these things, and it's I don't know, it's somewhat interesting. I think they did a decent job of doing the whole time loop thing, doing it over and over again, and not making it get annoying. At the beginning, you know, you do see entire sequences repeated a couple times, but then they kind of do a decent job of skipping ahead and skipping parts, and you kind of get the gist of it. So it wasn't a terrible film. Tom Cruise is decent. Emily Blunt's better. And if you like science fiction, if you like time travel / time loop stories, then you should see it, because it's kind of an entertaining film. I don't know how it'll rank as far as other action films or science fiction films of the year, but it was better than I thought it would be, so I won't continue to hate on Tom Cruise forever, but the film did do awful still.
So what'd you give it?
I would probably give it like a 3.5.
All right.
But they did explain why he's going back in time. It's not just like
Yes.
a, okay. I'm glad they did that.
It's explained, and it's actually explained well. That's one of the reasons why I liked the movie more than I thought it would, because it didn't have as many plot holes as I thought it was going to have. And it definitely, they do a good job explaining why it's happening and how he gets into that situation, and how you could possibly get out of that situation, etc. I don't know if I agree 100% with the ending of the film. That would be my only nitpick, would probably be how the last couple of scenes happened. But other than that, I'm a sucker for sci-fi, and this was not a terrible film. 3.5 out of 5. Solid. All right, so a film that a couple of us saw, Matt and I, and that would be Maleficent. And Matt, you had just seen the film that it was based off of,
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. Even though at first you thought you hated it, you kind of liked it a little bit, or at least respected what they were doing there with their wizardry and their magic. So, what did you think going in and going out of Maleficent?
Well, so going into Maleficent, I knew we were getting, they say, in the trailer, like, oh, you think you know the story, but do you? And all this. So I knew they were going to be like, hey, we're just going to rewrite history with this. So, like, I went in going, okay, they're going to change some things. But what I wanted to see were, like, homages to the original, things like, hey, remember when they did this? This is actually how it happened. Isn't this better? Things like that. So I went in hopeful that, they're going to make this movie be interesting while watching it, not just thinking back on it. And that they were going to do homages but do a new movie entirely. So that was my thoughts going in.
Okay.
What about you?
I knew that they were going to be telling it from the, quote unquote, from the villain's viewpoint, or at least that's what I was assuming they were going to do. With Disney's new movement to try to make all these different live actions, I know at first we thought that they were going to do more of the villains, even though it seems like this is the only villain and all the rest they're doing just general Disney live action stories on Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast, etc. So I knew it was going to be from the other side. I was hoping that, kind of like what you were saying, I was hoping that there was going to be somewhat of a balance here, that we would be getting a different viewpoint and a different story without it completely trampling the original. But I was hoping that we wouldn't just get a lot of the original. I didn't want a retelling of the story just from a different view, so to speak. It needed to be different enough so that I didn't feel like they were just basically making the same movie with just a different angle type thing. The trailers looked appealing. I was definitely interested in it just based on how well it seems like Angelina Jolie fit that character as far as the look goes before I ever saw anything. So I went in with somewhat of some minor expectations. What about you when you left? What was your initial reaction and feeling?
I don't know. I want to say, honestly, I want to say I felt cheated. Like, that was not at all what I expected, not what I wanted. I'm not saying it was just, like, a terrible movie. It was just, like, what I went in expecting to get, I did not leave feeling I got.
Did you feel like you saw, like, it was two different films put together?
Yeah, definitely. Especially, like, and there was like, weird character turns, where it was, like, one character would feel one thing in one scene and then feel, like, different in another scene. And it's like, I don't feel like there's emotional continuity here.
Yeah, I can see that, and that's what I was kind of getting at. Like, to me, I felt like the first half of the film, it was something I could get down with. I liked the feel of it. I was buying into what the characters were doing and what they were seeing, and it seemed like, from a pace standpoint, we were moving along kind of at a speed that I like. And then the second half of the film happens, and it either seems like there's a lot of stuff that just is pointless, or like we're just I don't know, like, there's so much that they cram into the first half of the film, and then the second half of the film just seems like it's just killing time.
But it's also it also feels rushed too at the same time.
That yeah, it was weird how it seemed like it was when they did actually do stuff, it was rushed, and then they had these lulls in between that just nothing really was happening, or why should I be interested in what's going on right now?
Yeah.
Type feel. And Dan, Movie Revolt Dan, wrote a review on Maleficent at the website. You can check that out. He gave it a 2 stars out of 5. Said he disliked it, basically. I did have some issues with some of the points that he brought up, but again, I agree with some of the stuff he said too, as far as he too felt like it was kind of 2 different movies mixed into one. I did agree with him, though, and I don't know how you feel about this, though, but I did agree with his one thing that he said he liked about the film, which was Angelina Jolie fit that character perfectly.
Yeah, she did a great job. Like, I could definitely believe her performance throughout.
Outside of that, did you like any other person in the film?
I thought, like, okay, so I don't want to say I liked him, but the guy who played the king, I thought did a very good job selling the part. It wasn't the king from the movie. Like, that's not the Sleeping Beauty king that I know.
Right.
But he definitely sold that role. Like, and I enjoyed how well he did at that.
See, I agree with you too. Dan didn't like him, but I thought he did do a good job. I mean, I don't think he's a likable character or anything, but I think he fit the role well and did it well. And I also liked the guy that played the Crow. I don't remember.
They did some
if he had a name.
Fun visual things with him, where like he would get transformed into different animals and it'd always have feathers. Like he was like
right.
He was like a winged horse or like a feathery dog, like things like that. It was great.
How he came in and out of those things, like from human to animal form, was pretty seamless. His name was Sam Riley. I thought the younger versions of Maleficent were done well, or acted well. I don't know what they were thinking with the pixies, though, or the fairies, or whatever you want to call them. Because they were awful.
Like that, like at least in the original one, they're like this comedic relief. This one, they're just annoying. And it's like it's not at all believable that this guy, Aurora's father, is like, I love my daughter 1,000%. It's all like, hey, we're fairies. We just met you. We're gonna take your daughter. And he's like, sure, that's fine. Like he's got this. I don't know. Everything about the fairies pissed me off. I
was gonna tell you going into that. I wanted to be like, you're gonna hate the fairies.
But dude,
but I didn't want.
Like on top of all of that, why did they change their names?
Yeah. They did nothing right. Like, to me, a movie like that, you have Angelina Jolie, who seems to fit this role. You have a cool, like one of the most iconic Disney villains that you can have. Outside of that, the best thing going for this film should have been the 3 fairies.
Yeah.
Like, that should have been, the possibilities for what you could have done with them should have been endless. You could have had them funny. You could have had them stealing scenes. You could have had them memorable. They were awful in everything they did, everything they said, and every scene that they were in. Like, I did not like a single thing about the 3 fairies.
No, they had zero likable qualities.
So, I think that was a big misstep for the film. Like I said, I think the whole second half seems to be, I mean, there's just, and this isn't really spoiling anything, but there's like a time where basically Angelina Jolie's character is just waiting for, whatchamacallit, to grow up, Aurora, as she's being taken care of by the fairies, and it just seems like that takes forever and goes nowhere.
Yeah, you get nothing. I mean, she does get more spoken lines in this movie than the other one, even though the one was named after her and this one wasn't. But I mean, It's not like that was necessarily, I guess.
I mean, I think the imagery was good. The visual, some of the visual stuff they did was done well. The moors, the place where Maleficent basically lives, I thought most of the creatures and stuff there was cool. From a visual standpoint.
Oh, it looked great. But the thing that really, I don't know, confused me was, like, in Sleeping Beauty, she lives in a desolate wasteland, and she's got, like, 1 million goblin servants. Where were all those goblins?
Yeah, no goblins. Well, unless that's what those one things were supposed to be. I don't know.
That get you, like, you see various things in the moors, you know, like, you hey, there's a tree man, and, like, look at this little water spirit, but, like, you don't get anything from any of them. You don't get any explanation of any of them, and none of them like her, like, once she's an adult. It's so you get, like, in the original movie, she's got a whole army, and this one, it's like, everyone's, like, afraid of her.
Now, I came in late to the viewing of the original film when you guys were watching it right beforehand. The original Sleeping Beauty film.
Yeah.
They don't make any reference to Maleficent having wings, do they?
Never.
I thought that was a pretty cool part.
Yeah, I think that comes more from the original book that it's based off of.
Gotcha. I think they did that really, really well. Dan referenced some kind of feminine or feminist storyline.
Oh, my God. I was avoiding that whole conversation.
And did you read that conversation?
I've read a lot. So, something I end up finding myself doing a lot is reading feminist articles on the internet because I am all for equal rights. I'm all for equal rights. I believe women should be in leading roles and all that. And I believe in equality. But some of these feminists on the internet, and, like, they've given the whole word feminist a bad rap to me. Like, that talk about how anytime in any film or media or book, if a guy attacks a girl, it's a rape. And if a girl attacks a guy, she's overthrowing the oppression of male misogyny. And anytime a guy attacks a guy, it's because men are brutal and they're evil. And it's like, fucking shut up. Like, sometimes people hate each other, and sometimes humans stab each other for greed or whatever. And it doesn't always have to be men suck and women are raped. It doesn't always have to be that.
And that was kind of my point. I kind of got into it with Dan a little bit on the website because he was definitely making a rape analogy with one of the scenes in the film. And I didn't even think that one time when I watched the film. Like, when I watched that scene, that thought didn't even cross my mind because maybe I was just trying to be too involved into what the characters were doing, and to me it was more of a comment on his lack of courage, of his weakness, because obviously, spoiler alert, I guess, but obviously he had gone out there to kill her.
Yeah.
And he was too weak to do that. So, you know, he went a different direction, but, like, to me it was, I don't know, I think it's just it's seeing something that you want to see or reading too much into something to just immediately go to that. It's too easy to say, oh, that's just an analogy for rape. You can make 1,000 things, like you said, analogies for rape. It doesn't mean that they all are or they should be or they need to be.
I think it goes like, so I fancy myself a writer. I think I've made that clear on many of the MWIREs. And I remember discussing once with one of my writing instructors back at university, and we discussed how once it's out there, once you write something and put it out there, it doesn't matter what you are writing. It's only what the audience takes from it. And I've read a lot of interviews with the woman who wrote the script. I think it was the woman that wrote the script. The head writer, and she said that wasn't my intention. Like, she's literally said, hey, that wasn't what I was going for, but I can see how it is like that, and I can see where people are taking that from, and that's exactly how I feel. It's like, hey, this thing kind of mimics something in the real world, but it wasn't what the writer intended, so are we going to talk about how this is the greatest thing ever because it totally mimics that thing and does a good thing?
Right.
I mean, and I get, you know, it's a woman about, like, if you want to take the whole rape analogy, which, you know, it fits. I can see it more than a lot of other things, but I feel like it gets just thrown on there. But, like, it fits because she overcomes and she survives and she's still strong, and that's cool, you know. Hey, at least it wasn't like she was a victim and then just, like, hated herself and was pitiful the rest of the movie.
Right.
It's just that that wasn't what they were going for, and that wasn't what they wanted to do. And
see, I agree with what you're saying. Like, I understand. Well, and I agree with part of what Dan was saying. Like, in watching movies and being movie buffs, or in reviewing movies, you're supposed to read into stuff, and you're supposed to try to take it in whichever way and kind of get your own impression on what effect it had on you or what it made you think. But I also kind of think that there's a value in trying to also see what the person was intending it to be, whether it be the director, the author, the actor, whoever it was. Like, I think there's kind of an inner beauty of just trying to see what they were trying to do and try to see that while you're seeing it, not just compare it to whatever everybody else. I mean, it's akin to me of. And I'm not trying to say anybody was bad for doing this, but it's the same as people trying to compare. You haven't seen Frozen yet, have you, Matt?
Yeah, I totally seen Frozen.
Okay, it's the same for me as people trying to compare Frozen to an analogy of the lesbian whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's reading into it what you want. It's almost like what they say. It's like when dealing with statistics. You can make statistics say whatever you want them to say, and if you have an analogy that you're looking for in movies, you can probably find them in 9 out of 10 movies.
Yeah.
But I don't see a value in that, I guess. So,
speaking of Frozen, I think we can assume everyone here has seen Frozen, and the end has a very what is love? How do we define love? It doesn't always have to be, I love you and we're gonna get married. And this movie does a similar thing, where it's like, hey, what is love? Like, can these people love each other? Does a father love a daughter? Things like that. And it's like, I like that. I like taking a classic theme, especially something from, classic 60, 70-year-old Disney movie that everyone's seen and everyone knows, and then being like, well, what is love? And, like, maybe we can turn that on its head. But just a couple of months after Frozen, it's too soon. Like, you're going to get to the point where it's like, hey, turning things on its head needs to be turned on its head. Like, it gets ridiculous.
Yeah. Another thing that Dan brought up in his review that I wanted to kind of see what your take was on it. One thing he had mentioned was that, this movie is titled Maleficent. That's the main character. It's supposed to be from, the other side of the story. We're supposed to be getting to see it from the villain side. I was wondering your take on just the general idea of how they portrayed Maleficent as a character, and kind of the decisions they made for that, because he was saying, look, she's really she's only a villain in one scene. Saying outside of one instance where she actually truly is a villain and acts like a villain, other than that, the movie basically portrays her as not necessarily a hero, but more hero than villain, maybe. But I think that's somewhat of the point of telling it from her side of her viewpoint, is that we're supposed to see her not as much of a villain as we did in Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
Did you have a problem with her not being more villainous?
No, I think that's totally a feel. There was one moment towards the end where I feel like there's a scene that's maybe more villainous in my mind than anyone else's, where it's like, man, dude, she's like taking her revenge, and there's no like recourse. It's almost like, oh, hey, you wronged me, I get to wrong you equally, if not worse, and there's no revenge for me, haha, because I'm the hero. And it's like, I don't know, that part made me feel a little weird.
Yeah.
But then I guess that's just me. And I guess that's because I'm part of the misogynistic patriarchy that's holding women down.
Overall, I mean, this was Disney's kind of first in their new chapter of tackling these live-action films, doing it from a villain side viewpoint, etc. Do you think this is something that we should see more of, or after this, do you think let's go a different direction, Disney?
I want to say more. Like, I have problems with this film, but ultimately it was visually beautiful. and they can take what they've done learn and do more. Like, here's the thing. Disney can do wrong. They can. They just don't very often. And so more Disney just means more likely, more better.
Yeah, and I think they can learn from some stuff too, and hopefully, I think if they would have kept going with the same pace and everything that was happening in the first half of the movie, and they would have just carried that through to the second half, we would have had a totally different film that people wouldn't have had as many problems with. I'm not saying it's a great film. There's lots of flaws in it, but visually, I think, I first of all, Angelina Jolie it's worth watching just to see her in the portrayal of Maleficent, because she does it perfectly and the character is done well and written well for the most part. But I think, even though Dan said that was the only reason to watch this film was her performance and everything else was forgettable, I disagree with that. There's a lot of visual things that are worth watching and are memorable to me. And overall, I like this. I like what they did here, and I'd be willing to see more stuff, even though I do admit that it has some faults. So overall, on a scoring system, Matt, what would you give Maleficent?
One final point before I score it. One thing this movie has in it that you don't see very often is a real, true, believable fight between an army and a dragon. Like, dragons have been thrown in fantasy things for years. And it's either like The Hobbit, where it's like, hey, this dude shoots it and it's weak spot and it just dies. Or, like, it's just like, they're always, like, usually hugely unbelievable. And this one's like, wow, that's exactly what it'd be. It's brutal, and it's quick, and it's violent, and that's what a dragon versus an army would be. And I really liked that point.
Agreed.
So, just to give it a ranking out of 5, I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say it's worth seeing. It's visually beautiful. Angelina Jolie is a powerhouse. It's got a lot of problems. I could rate it lower, but I don't want to say it fails. It doesn't fail to do what it sets out to do. I just don't think it does it as well as it should.
I think that's perfectly put. I will give it a real strong 3 as well, teetering on the best 3 you can possibly give it, because I think it is worth seeing, and it does do a lot of things well. It just has a lot of faults, so I can't rank it too much higher than 3. But it's better than 2, or 2.5. It's better than dislikable. As far as stuff that has come out in the last couple of weeks, getting Nate back into this. Blu-rays and DVDs that have come out in the last couple of weeks that you may be interested in seeing. Some films that came out this year. Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit Combo Pack came out a couple of weeks ago. Non-Stop, which is a 2014 film, came out.
Grand Budapest was a week ago.
Yeah, we had Grand Budapest. I'm trying to think if there was any 13 Sins. The Lego Movie, Everything is Awesome Edition, 3D Combo Pack is out. Walk of Shame is out. 300 Rise of an Empire.
Which will
Blood
be out.
Ties. What's that?
That one will be out once this releases.
Yes, Winter's Tale. Those will all be coming out here soon. So there's that.
I don't know what the chef, the actor, and the scoundrel is, but that sounds interesting. Like a kung fu.
Not the chef.
Kung fu. It looks like a kung fu comedy. I'm down.
As far as stuff that's coming out in the theater this next week, see if you guys are interested in any of this stuff. Transformers: Age of Extinction, June 26th. That's coming out. I guess that's really it, isn't it? Snowpiercer, another limited release here coming up. I know Dan's already written a review on that on the site. And Yves Saint Laurent. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. That was a film that I was somewhat interested in because I believe that's the one that has Bill Murray in it, or somebody that I found interesting. Jersey Boys just came out too, so that's out there if people want to see it. I know we've talked about this already. Nate, are you interested in Transformers: Age of Extinction or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Matt,
it looks like the best one yet. That's not saying much.
Matt, what was your thoughts on that one? I can't remember.
I have not seen any of them.
Okay.
I fell asleep halfway through the first one because it was that boring to me.
Yeah. They're not my favorite part of the Transformers franchise. I will see it eventually just because it is Transformers, but I don't know. I know Joel will take me to see it in the theater. And
Aww.
so that'll be good. Other than that, that's it for theater releases. Nothing's trying to compete with Transformers because even if it is terrible and Michael Bay is involved with it, it makes billions of dollars, so nobody wants to compete with it. As far as the credit conversation last week, we were trying to ask what kind of stuff you like as far as our podcast, what sections you'd like more of, what sections you would like less of. I know some of you said you would like less credit conversation, but we have to talk about it since that was a question, so I try not to read anything. Go ahead, Matt.
I think they had a really good point about that, where it's like sometimes we just read and we don't comment. And, I'm just going to say that's usually because by the time we get done, we're all rushing to get to bed. Or at least I'm rushing to get to bed usually. So I guess you can blame me at least a little bit on that. And I totally agree with them. Maybe we do read them and just not comment enough, or, But I thought that this was great, and I'm glad you guys got back to us as much as you did.
Yeah. And we definitely got a bunch of different opinions, too, so I thought that was good. Some people obviously wanting more times where the three of us have all seen the same film in the theater. Sometimes that's just a scheduling time issue where it's not possible for us to do that, but we still want to try to give you guys content every week, so it's kind of a balancing act. We definitely will be trying to see some of these films all in the same week, especially with a bunch of the bigger films that are coming up here going on. I mean, the first half of the year traditionally is a slower half movie-wise, where you don't get quite as much. Obviously, we've had all the big superhero films that we got to talk about, but we'll have some stuff coming up here that I'm sure we'll all three see and be able to have discussions on it. I like, Justin Washington says that he gets most of his movie news from us, so that's cool.
I also get most of my movie news from us.
As do I. And we had at least a couple people that liked the movie game so far and want to see more of that in the future. I'm pretty sure one of that was Nate signed in as a guest.
What?
I said I'm pretty sure that's you signed in as a guest that says that you want more movie games.
I did not. That's not me.
Nate signed up actually as himself and done stuff. So, but I mean, I guess it makes sense if he wanted to plug the show in some way, he should have done that. I can also say that, as I mentioned, I believe earlier, that I told some people at my work about it, and they listened and liked the movie games. So
there will be more movie games coming for sure.
We got to fill in those weeks where there's nothing coming out.
Right.
Go
ahead.
Is this the chance that is this the time? Is this an acceptable time for Nate and I to plug what we're doing?
Yes.
Yay!
So Nate and I, this is entirely unrelated to the MWIRE being gone for a month. That was a mixture of, I don't know, I don't think all the three of us knew that our schedules were so wonked out versus each other that there was only one time we could record. It was funny because Nate and Kevin, when we were talking about doing this, asked me what time would be best for me to record, and I said it would be this time. And it turns out that's almost the only time we can ever record. So when something goes wrong in that time slot, it makes it hard for us to find another time, and that's what happened a bunch. But we're figuring it out. We're getting it done. So entirely unrelated to that, about a month ago, Nate and I started an additional second podcast, unrelated, and it's called Rhapsody Cast. And what we do is we write fantasy short stories, and we read them and comment on them and have fun, and it's just a great, fun thing. It's like a free audiobook every week. That's how I like to tag it.
Or a free chapter of an audiobook.
Yeah, free chapter, because usually a chapters run about 30 minutes to an hour, and that's how long this is.
My stories are stupid, and Matt writes better ones.
Nate does fun, funny stories, and I do serious, sometimes brutal stories.
That one-time brutal.
So yeah, just you can just find us at youtube.com/RhapsodyCast or Facebook.com/RhapsodyCast.
Or we're on Podomatic, and we're also on iTunes.
Yeah, we're on iTunes. So just Rhapsody, like the Greek word for a verbal tale.
Right. So look us up and give us some comments. Listen, please, and I don't know.
Do it.
Please.
It's fun. You'll enjoy it.
As far as next week's question, I actually wanted to do a two-parter here that will fit into what we will be doing when we talk next week. number one, I want to know, because we're about to reach the halfway point, so next week's episode will basically be geared towards the idea that we're at the halfway point of 2014 as we end June here. So the question will be, number one, what's your favorite film so far in 2014 that you've seen? And what are you most looking forward to here in the second half of 2014? So look back at the first half of the year, look forward to the second half of the year, and we will, in our main attraction next week, be talking about all the movies we've seen so far in 2014. And I know Nate and Matt have kind of tipped their hand as far as their favorite film, but we'll talk about our favorite, 3 or 4 films so far that we've seen and what we're looking forward to most now that we've gotten to the halfway point, and just kind of a general halfway of 2014 episode next week. So, thanks as always for joining us here on MWIRE Weekly. You can contact us in the following ways. Call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. Visit the forums and episode posts. Just go to geekcastradio.com, find the MWIRE Weekly post, and you can get involved in the discussion there. Visit the Facebook page by searching Geekcast Radio Network. There you can keep track of all things Geekcast Radio related. They'll give you updates on every new episode, every new podcast, every new blog review. Everything gets posted on the Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter at Geekcast Radio, #MWIRE, or you can follow me on Twitter at Optimus Solo. You can follow Nate
at Adolfo Shabadoo,
or Matt
at Fridley Sunt. Hey, I got a new mic. Did you guys notice?
I did.
Definitely.
All right, that's it for us. And remember, for all things movies, keep tuned to MWIRE Weekly.